So I picked up this 5,000 watt Stealth Bomber clone from Aliexpress about I think August of 2023. So I got over 5,000 miles on it and just kind of ran into a few parts that I figured I would let you guys know about that you might want to avoid potentially on your next bikes. But yeah, this is a Keyu 100 amp controller, I believe. And yeah, it had no adjustability compared to a Sab Voton, which has a Bluetooth connector, and you can connect to an app on your phone and change all the settings. So that right there, the throttle was my biggest issue, and when I would twist the throttle, it was just kind of really torquey, which some people might like, but over time, when you're on the trail and stuff, you kind of want something a little bit less touchy and or sensitive. So I did burn out this controller, I think. After 5,000 miles, I plugged my battery in one day to the bike, and I just heard a pop after trying to turn on my display. So I think I busted my display and my controller somehow, because I haven't been able to get either one to work. So I had to swap that out for a 100 amp Sab Voton controller. I could have gone 150 amp, I think, but I just didn't really care for it. And it just costed, I think, like maybe another $100 or something. So that right there, which I got on AliExpress, was I think around maybe $250 or $300. So it came with the display, and it came with the controller, it came with a Bluetooth device, which was great for me. So I was able to connect to my phone. Outside of that, the stock fork that it came with was a Zoom spring fork. Definitely one of the lower end forks out there, but it's totally functional. It was working for me. It was, if you do a lot of road riding, I guess you'd like it, but if you're going any type of off-road riding, I think the minimum is going to be KKE. I think you're going to like probably the D&M more, the D&M front fork. And then there's obviously more expensive ones like a Fox or like a Bomber, or I think that's a RockShox. So yeah, anyway. That was my other upgrade. So the controller, the fork, and then I ran into an issue with my XOD 2-piston hydraulic brakes. So I decided to go for the Magura MT5 4-piston hydraulic brakes, which I run on all my mountain bikes. And so I was familiar with how to work on them and bleed them and stuff, so I figured it made sense. So yeah, I got those, which have been a night and day difference. The big thing about the XOD, they were definitely grippy, but they just weren't consistent. And I think when they heated up, they started to make more noise. And that could just be a rotor and a brake pad issue for me. Maybe I should have tried a better rotor and a better brake pad. So maybe other people could be willing to try that. I just haven't done that, just because I was willing to do the MT5s. But the XOD brakes are like $50 for the brake set and the rotors included. If you look online, it might be $60 now if you're on AliExpress. So yeah, that's obviously cheap compared to this brake set, which is maybe $250 with the rotors, maybe a little more. So, that's like a 5 times difference. So, I can see why people want to cut corners, but when you have a high-power e-bike, at least try to go for a 4-piston. It doesn't have to be a big brand like this. So, you might be happy with like a Tektro or just whatever 4-piston e-bike brand. And then I think you're allowed to pair them with different rotors. So, maybe you just buy a Magura rotor and then you get a cheap off-brand 4-piston and then try running that. So, it's kind of different combinations you can do. But the other issue I had with this was the spacers originally. I had to assemble this entire bike and the spacer kit. I found M16 rear hub spacer kit is what fit my bike, and maybe it fits most of them. It varies from M16 to I think like M10, maybe even smaller. So yeah, just kind of keep that in mind when you're looking out for kind of spacers to maybe help your freewheel, or maybe just to give you enough space on your other side where your brake is. So yeah, just kind of things to consider, because you will notice that you might rub against your brake caliper, which I did that a lot. And you can see how fine the clearance is right now. I mean, there's hardly any space. That's like a sheet of paper almost. So yeah, I got to keep an eye on that when I ride and make sure it's not rubbing. But all in all, I guess I should also mention, they gave me the torque arms for the bike, but they didn't give me screws and bolts so I can bolt it in. So that was kind of another big issue for me. I was rocking it without this torque arm actually, which is probably very dangerous. It did pop off one time, but thankfully it wasn't on a bad spot, and it didn't come all the way off. It was just like very far back. But yeah, that should be the number one priority when they send these kits, are these kind of bolts here for the torque arms. And for whatever reason, on this style bomber frame, and where I bought it from, which was Super E-Bike Store on Aliexpress, they did not include it in the frame at all. And I didn't buy the frame by itself. I bought this entire bike, and I thought it was supposed to be assembled. So I got the bike in 3 boxes, and it was completely unassembled. I should have shipped it back. But yeah, that's okay, because I really like it now. So, and it was worth it to build it myself. But yeah, that's another thing. If you like building and kind of putting things together, maybe you just want to kind of look online and find all these parts yourself and then just assemble it. You might be able to get a better fork out of it, I guess. And that's the biggest thing, is just having a good fork. You don't want to overpay for like $2,500 and get like a Zoom fork and like a crappy rear shock, and then obviously a bad battery. So you might as well try to piece together a good bike instead of a bad bike. But I do see the appeal of having a pre-built bike, and that's exactly what this one was. I started off ordering this bike just because I was excited and I didn't trust Alibaba at the time. So I got it on Aliexpress, and I was like, wow, this is kind of hard to put together, but at the same time it's pretty awesome. And I was kind of upset at the range initially, but I think the controller with a better battery has now changed my opinion on this. So maybe if you see these types of kits on AliExpress, you just ask for no controller and no battery, and then you get everything else. Maybe that's worth it. And then also no brakes, so you're just getting the motor, the frame, maybe the handlebars, the headset, and then your cranks, some pedals, I guess, if you want them. I mean, just, you can customize your kit from these places any way you want, so just kind of keep that in mind. So, and there's not a lot of moving components to this. It's a motor, it's a battery, it's a controller, and I mean, that's it. So, I mean, yes, there's going to be a lot of cables in the way, but I've kind of minimized that, which I didn't get electric or e-bike MT5s. I just got normal mountain bike MT5s, which maybe I should have done it for my right hand, because I wish I had that regen brake setting. But yeah, I mean, just having hardly any cables up here does feel better. So the only thing connected to my my controller is the motor, the throttle, and my display. So that's all I'm running. And then the battery too, but battery, motor, display, throttle, that's it. So it does get a lot when you have like a security system, when you have your brakes, so left and right, you have those extra cables there. You have a headlight cable, which I don't have that. I have a wireless headlight. And then, yeah, just anything else that I'm just not thinking of at the moment. There's a few others, but yeah, maybe your rear light cable and yeah, just other stuff. So I think there's some parts that are worth going wireless as long as you're not doing a ton of riding in the road. But yeah, this wireless headlight This is pretty decent for what it is. I mean, it's not as bright as that one, which I don't expect it to be, but maybe it'd be worth it for me to mount 2 of these on my bike. I've had no issues riding it at night though. So yeah, I got the tail light too with the braking feature, so when I slow down it lights up more. But yeah, hopefully that helps.